So the problem we're starting with now is 12 divided by negative 5/8. So let's go ahead and write out the original problem. So have you written out the original problem? We got to write it out. Now the big thing when working with a integer value and a fraction is I don't like mixing number types. So I can't turn this fraction into an integer, but I can turn this integer into a fraction. How do I turn an integer into a fraction? How do I turn any number into a fraction form that doesn't actually change it? What could I put in the denominator?
Oh, 1.
1, right? So now the big trick with this division is we don't want to divide. And that some people are like, wait, the trick with the division is don't divide. We turn it into multiplication. Now how we're allowed to do that is multiplication is the inverse operation of division. So since we use the inverse operation, I also have to use the reciprocal of this value, which we call that process keep, change, flip. Because I keep my original fraction, which some of your peers are goofing up. They're trying to flip the first fraction. We never mess with the first fraction. I change this into multiplication, which my multiplication dot's kind of high up, but that's fine. And I flip my second fraction, and it's still negative. So again, like we've talked about, we got to think about, will my answer be positive or negative? Are you just trying to go to the restroom? Yeah, you're good. Yeah. So now that I've done my keep, change, flip, I can multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom, but always think about sign of your answer. Since I start with one positive and one negative, there's no pairs of negatives to cancel out. So I know that my answer will stay negative because that negative has nothing to pair up with to cancel. So 12 times 8, I can do 8 times 10, which is 80. 8 times 2, which is 16, and I combine those to get 96. I do 1 times 5 across the bottom, gives me 5. So I can leave it like this, or we can convert back to a mixed, and to convert back to our mixed value, I say how many 5s go into 96? Well, I know it doesn't work in 96, but what number very close to 96 is divisible by 5?
100.
Ooh, yeah, but 100's higher than that, so we can't use that. We have to go lower. We can use the 95.
Oh.
So if I use the 95, I can already identify I'm going to have 1/5 left over, because if I use 95, I'll have one of these left. And then when I think about 95 divided by 5, how many 5s fit into 9? Well, 1. Bring down my 5. How many 5s fit in 45? 9. And I get negative 19 and 1/5. Now I could have done this long division with the 96 inside, which would have then just said how many 5s fit into 9? 1. I would subtract this. That would be 4. 46, which then I get the 9, and then I have to put the decimal here. And that would have given me a remainder of 1, which I can drop down a 0 and say how many 5s fit into 10? 2, and that actually shows me that this becomes negative 19.2. Does that make sense? How I can do it either way. I could do fraction or decimal form.